Okay, so now it's time to tighten this pedestal down. So on the large upright bolts, we've used a 5/16 here to tighten these. These are snug. And then on the hinge point, the ones that we put on first, we're using a 7/32 to tighten this. Now, a couple things that I didn't go over, because this is the first time in this video we needed to use any tools, is that a household socket set and some Allen wrenches will be fine. I have seen both metric and standard on treadmills these days, so be prepared with both. Both of these have been standard size, but I am gonna bet that this could be, let's see, this is also gonna be a standard size up here. So flip outs work great, okay? Or sockets that will attach to a 3/8 drive ratchet work fabulous as well. I'm going to get all these tightened down, and we'll be back in a second. So I'm just getting done tightening these down up here, and those 8, they use a 3/16, so that took a few minutes. So next what I'm going to be doing is putting on these pistol controls with HR grips and our handles. All of these are conveniently marked. This has a part number P-3593L. I'm going to assume that's for left. And then P-3593R. So remember that R and L, right and left, okay, are user right and left. So when you're on the treadmill, it's your right. This is the left part number, left side of the treadmill. When you're on it, user left, okay? The nice thing is, if you were to switch them, of course, they're not going to look right at all. There's no way to make them work, okay? But True does take the time to mark them, so please pay attention to your parts, okay? And they fit nicely, obviously. Again, here are our controls here. For incline and speed, these pistol controls with they are marked L, user left, and there's an R for user right. The only catch is they've got a connector here. Make sure you connect that. And then carefully run the connector back into the hole of the treadmill frame, and these are going to sit like that. And I guess we didn't pay the power bill this month, so we'll be right back, okay? So come over here. So okay, we called the electric company, gave them a credit card, we're good to go now. Okay, actually we've got motion detectors back here, and I guess we're not moving enough to keep the lights on. So we're going to look closer at these controls here. Again, left, so user left. Our connector connects, it can only connect one way. There's a clasp and clip, and force it together. It'll connect, push it back into the frame, and then this screws on here. But I will let that dangle for now. On this side, marked right, here's our clip here. Clasp is up, clip is up. I'm going to force these together. And if you try to You know, it won't fit the other way because these are actually beveled. If you were to look really close, these are actually beveled and they're not all square. And that will go in there, and then that and our screws go right here. And we're going to screw these on in just a second. We're going to go look at the hardware right now. Okay, so for the grips with the controls and the HR, we have got these 1/4 inch screws with Loctite, and this time washers. So lock washers. They call them spring washers on this one, not split washers. So anyway, one of these times that you have lock washers and Loctite. So we're being extra careful here. I'm going to show you how these go on now. So we've just lifted this up and put this in place and screwed these on. I actually deviated from the factory instructions. They have these going on first, and it probably would be a little easier, but it's still, you know, it's still, I wouldn't call it difficult to screw these on. I wanted to go ahead and put the centerpiece of the console on first, tying everything together tightly because we don't loosen anything. We don't tighten anything. Everything stays loose until the whole upright is in place. So instead of trying to attach these to a couple of wobbly uprights, I just opted to put them on now. So we're going to take a look at this. So those are all started. So you can get in here with an Allen wrench and get them tightened. This one might prove to be a little more challenging, in which case you can use an Allen key that's got a ball end, and I can show that to you here shortly. But we're going to look at this right side here, if you want to come around here. So again, here's our connector, goes back in here. And then this one's the easiest to get to, so I'm just going to start that one. Just starting that one with my hand. Alright, so that's started. And it also is important to notice that we haven't even screwed these on yet, so we're going to look at that here in a second. So we're tightening down these 1/4 inch bolts, and I've gotten this is actually get the size here for you. It's a 5/32, and you can see it's got the ball end, and we're going to get close here and look. Right down here, I'm just going to come in, and we're just going to tighten those down, just like that. And there is nothing wrong with doing it in this sequence. And we can do the same here. I just like to have, as soon as possible when you're doing a build, and that just dropped. So always good to have your treadmills turned off when you're working on them, because you don't want to drop a tool on a hot circuit board. So I always like to have the pedestal sturdy as quickly as I can in a build. I'm actually leaning on it right now, and if we were to tighten the pedestals one at a time during the building sequence, I promise you it would have been extremely difficult to line up this centerpiece. So it's either do these like this or unloosen and, you know, loosen them back up and then tighten them. But these are really not difficult to get to like this. We'll torque that down. And next, what we're going to do is show you the hardware to get these on over here at the hardware package. So on this time we're going to use, these are actually the same bolts used on the, actually these are not, These are the ones that we used on the decline kit. And I spoke too soon. Please stand by. Okay, so I was right. So it's the same one we use for the decline kit. And they do take a star washer. I thought I was missing something. All of the hardware is marked with letters and has a chart. Alright, so with all of it drawn out, it's very clear. So this is a good reference, and needs to be, you know, used and referred to constantly when you're doing this build. I'm just adding in my own 2 cents to help you guys a little bit. We're going to show you where these go. What I did here is I put a 7/16 socket on an extension. Okay, and these will come in from the bottom. Just to get them started. And then this is a lot easier to handle just by itself rather than attaching a ratchet to it. Again, just like this, and these just come straight up from underneath. They're in there, and then we can take, helps if I put on the right end there, then we can take our ratchet and finish the job. Alright, next we're going to get this console support on and be done with this base build. We're getting kind of short on hardware, so it's a lot easier to figure out. These are the cap screws with split washers that we need to put on this console support, and Loctite and washers, double trouble here. And these will come up actually from the bottom, as this is tapped and threaded right here, so that's a little different. So these come up from down below. So again, we're going to need to use the old, you know, we'll do a socket head on an extension and kind of thread them up from underneath. So we'll see what that looks like here in a second. You ready? We going? Okay, so I've just got my extension here, and I'm just coming up from the bottom. At first, I didn't know how I was going to feel about this because it's a little, it's peculiar. I don't want to call it a bad design, but it is it's kind of interesting. So but it would be a nightmare with just a little 90-degree wrench like we were using earlier, or a multi flip out set. It would be darn near impossible. Alright, I've got all these started. We're going to use the ratchet to get these done, and then we'll start looking at putting the shrouds on this thing and get this all buttoned up. Okay, what we've done is I've already put this on, and I'm just kind of taking it off to show you guys. So we've got the cup holder cut out here, and the bottom of the cup holder is right here, up here. I would use that as a reference and try to guide this on as such. You have got a lot of little tabs and things that need to be lined up on both sides. going to take the screws being put in to really get it all cinched together. Make sure when you're pressing it on there that, again, we don't have up here any wires that we're mashing. They seem to be pretty well out of the way, okay? That's very important. That fit a lot better that time, for whatever reason. And then, of course, kind of work it from side to side. The hardware used is actually in a separate bag in the kit, okay? Small machine screws that are Phillips head. Please use a hand screwdriver. When putting these in, they already have a split washer and flat washer and Loctite. So 3 things. Once we get the undershroud on here, we can put these little covers on. Don't put these on. Put these on when you still, these are right and left, so they won't fit each way. But put these on when you still have a little bit of play, okay? Because they kind of are, you know, the bottom shroud will press around and it all fits nice and snug, okay? So we're going to get this all put together and be right back. So next we have the motor hood, and this is actually a little tricky because we've got some cutouts here, and once we get those off, these are here, these twist right out, okay? And you can clean up those edges if you wanted to with like a file, but it's really not necessary. And this hood will go on over like that. These caps, which is probably my least favorite part of this treadmill, kind of come in like that. We're going to look at the hardware. Ready? Okay, so motor hood hardware, these 2 bars, these countersunk machine screws. I'm going to show you where these go. After you get these caps on, these covers go here, the screws go through there, and that clamps the front hood down. As far as the rest of the treadmill goes, you have 1 screw in the motor hood, okay? And our base is ready for our console. The only thing we have left is the back shroud cover, which goes on with the console, the power cord, and then the configuration down below. I did not configure the bottom of the unit for any one particular console yet. We will do that in the next video. But this is the base of the ES900. Thanks.